Welcome back. All right, so I've got two teams left after this video for this playlist, Washington and Tampa Bay. So we're going to talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets today. The Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that over their quarter century of existence have had their struggles. And so when I did the power rankings for the regular season and the playoffs from 2000-2001 through 2023-2024, they finished 31st, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. This is a team that really needs something good to happen for them. There's been a lot of tragedies that have befallen this team, and in terms of on-ice success, there has not been a lot. Obviously, the most memorable playoff moment for them would be sweeping the Tampa Bay Lightning back in 2019. But that was 6 years ago now. Yeah, it's already been 6 years since that. And the upset of the Toronto Maple Leafs was the year after. And that was the qualifying round in 2020. And then they got taken out in the first round by Tampa Bay, who seemed to remember the year before and took it kind of personally. So this is a team that does not have a cup win. They haven't been to a conference final. And so I applaud fans of the Columbus Blue Jackets who still buy tickets for this team, even though there hasn't been a lot of reason to if you're looking for playoff success, regular season success, or, I don't know, a plan. Like at times with Columbus, it's felt like there isn't really a major plan. So I'm giving the team a C because that's as far down as I'm willing to go with grades for teams over this long a period of time. But when you look at their scoring list, the first thing that stands out to me is Rick Nash being first. Makes total sense. 674 games, 289 goals, 258 assists, 547 points. I think there's a valid question to be asked about whether or not Columbus has ever had like a really true superstar forward. Nash was a very good goal scorer. Excellent player. But if you look, and the examples I use are guys like McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, Ovechkin. They haven't had that kind of a star player in their existence. Now, their expansion brethren in Minnesota have had that struggle at times as well, but now they have Kaprizov. And then the question could be asked, was Gaborik at his peak a bigger star than what Nash was at his peak? And we can have that debate. Now, Cam Atkinson's second on the list in scorers, 627 games played, 213 goals, 189 assists, 402 points. Boone Jenner, captain of the team, 715 games, 192 goals, 172 assists, 364 points. And I think the expectation is eventually Jenner, as long as he can stay healthy, eventually he's the number one scorer in this team's history. Then you've got Nick Foligno, 599 games played, 142 goals, 192 assists, 334 points. And Nick Foligno gave them, I think, the best years of his career in terms of as a scorer and as a dangerous top six forward. Then you got Zach Werenski, 486 games, 90 goals, 212 assists, 302 points. Werenski's having a fantastic season this year for Columbus and may very well end up winning the Norris Trophy. And individual trophies for members of the Columbus Blue Jackets have been sporadic. I believe Bobrovsky had a win of the Vezina, if not two. Did he have two? Just thinking about how many times Columbus Blue Jackets players have been granted an award, and it feels like that's rare. Now, David Vaborny, I will never say anything negative about Vaborny. When he came over, I was like, who, what? And then it worked. 503 games, 107 goals, 194 assists, 301 points. An excellent find by their pro scouts early on in their existence. RJ Umberger, 445 games, 120 goals, 130 assists, 250 points. Oliver Bjorkstrand, 382 games, 111 goals, 123 assists, 234 points. Dubinsky, 430 games played, 72 goals, 153 assists for 225 points. And Seth Jones rounds out the top 10, 381 games, 50 goals, 173 assists, 223 points. And then off he went to Chicago. So the top 10 list has some really good players there. But if you compare that top 10 list to other teams that I've done in this playlist, you can see they don't have that really superstar level forward. Now, Marchenko could be that guy. Marchenko absolutely could be that guy, and with the right line mates and teammates, you never know. So Columbus, I think there's some potential this team could be very good very, very soon. Now, goaltending leaders, of course, Bobrovsky's the leader in wins. A record of 213, 130, and 27, a .921 save percentage. Steve Mason, a record of 96, 99, and 27, .903 save percentage. Of course, Steve Mason's first year, he gets them into the playoffs for the first time. He was basically a favorite of the franchise. and the fans for a bit there. But was it sustainable? No. They fell back to reality the year after. So that happens. Korpisalo, record of 87, 78, and 24, 903 save percentage. Mark Denis, record of 880, 136, 23, and a 905 save percentage. So one thing about Mark Denis is when they picked him up, there was an expectation that maybe he was going to be that star goaltender for them. It never really quite worked out with Denis, although 905 save percentage isn't bad. In general, it didn't work out the way that I think original general manager Doug MacLean had planned it. And when this team came into the NHL, they went the older route, whereas Minnesota went with the younger players. And so far, it hasn't panned out. They had a better team initially out of the gate, but if you look at where Columbus is and compare it with Minnesota, I would say Minnesota's accomplished more than Columbus. And I understand if you're watching this and going, but I still think that. So looking at their coaching list, and it has been a lot of coaches, and with a team that's 31st on the regular season and playoff power rankings, it checks out. Starting with Dave King, then Doug MacLean, general manager, took over behind the bench for a bit. Gerard Gallant was coach here. Ken Hitchcock, Scott Arniel. So what's interesting here is there's no shortage of coaches who've had success elsewhere who've been behind the bench for Columbus. Todd Richards, John Tortorella, another who had success. And I'll say this, I still think he was probably the best coach they've had. I mean, towards the end, sure, did it get ugly? Maybe, but the reality is that their greatest successes were generally with John Tortorella behind the bench. Brad Larson, Mike Babcock, who lasted, he didn't even make it till the season started, but he was officially named coach, and then he was gone. Pascal, either Vincent or Vincent, I've heard it pronounced both ways, but he's brought in to be the coach. I thought he was in over his head a bit. I thought he did as well as one could expect in that situation. And then this year, Dean Evason has taken over. And Evason's a good coach. And I like Dean Evason a lot. And it's not just because he looks like Creed Bratton. But I like Evason. I like how expressive he is. Now, he always just looks, I don't know, it looks like there's a little bit of rage there with Evason. And I know that's probably not the case. It's probably just how he looks. But, I mean, it makes it intimidating for a coach, right? General managers, Doug MacLean, as previously mentioned, the first general manager, and then Scott Housen, who, sorry to Columbus fans, I know his reign was a tumultuous one, and then Jarmo Kekalainen, who was general manager during their most successful period, although I think what Don Waddell's doing in his first year as general manager, I think he's laying the groundwork for a better team. I think that Columbus are building a better foundation of a good team, and will probably see better results with each season with Don Waddell, not dissimilar to when Waddell took over the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that, very similarly to Columbus, had been good at times, respectable at times, but not a team that was in the playoff picture. Now, their team captains, Lyle Odeline, which, why would I put an E at the end of Odeline? Man, how long has that been on the board? Days. Lyle Odeline, which does not have an E at the end. Luke Richardson was captain here. Adam Foote. There's a trivia answer for you. Who was the third captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets? Adam Foote. I can almost guarantee that unless you're a Blue Jackets fan, you might have forgotten that. Rick Nash followed him. Then Nick Foligno, who, I mean, I was actually kind of upset when Foligno left Columbus. I thought he'd retire there. And then Boone Jenner. Boone Jenner's been a really good captain for them. Did miss a lot of this season with an injury, but since returning, I think he's been a help. This is a team that has been through a lot, and it's a fan base that's been through a lot as well. And so I do wish them nothing but the best going forward. And who knows, maybe they still make the playoffs this year, and maybe they'd be a dangerous team come playoff time because they are a team that has some depth, they have some scoring, and their goaltending at times can be quite good. But defensively, it feels like they're a little more sound this year. I think Dean Evason's been a net positive for them. Same as I would say Don Waddell has been. Because we are talking about playoffs this late in the season when we did not expect anything like that. The Johnny Gaudreau tragedy meant that all the pressure came off this team. We totally understood if this team was at the bottom of the East the whole season. And that has not been the case. So kudos to the players for playing above what anybody expected of them. And especially Zach Werenski, who's having a Norris-level season, although it's probably going to end up going to Makar. But either way, Werenski being in the conversation is great. And Columbus in general, pretty darn good team. But let me know your thoughts. And I mean that. I think Columbus, if they make the playoffs, they could be a tough out. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.